This is the Brocade Campus Feature Explainer series. I'm Terry Henry. This time around, we're going to have a look at how to configure the web management interface on the ICX. So first, if we do a show web management, let's just show web here. It tells me that HTTP server is enabled by default out of the box. HTTPS server is disabled. So if we want to do HTTPS, we got to generate a certificate and we have to enable that server. So first, let's just do standard HTTP. So what we need to do, since it's enabled, we also need to create a username and password and then set up AAA authentication to make that happen. We could do it with SNMP strings, but let's do it the proper way. So we're going to create a username. We'll call him web user and assign a password of password. Okay. Obviously, you wouldn't use password in real life, but and then we're going to set up AAA. So AAA authenticate and web is your authentication method, default, and then local. Obviously, you could use radius or TACX or whatever the case, but in this case, we're going to use a local username and password to make that happen. So that should be all we need to get our web user up and running. So if we open our web browser and hit the IP address of this device, we come up with a header like this. So it's telling me it's an ICX 7250-24P. Or, well, it's getting that username. So then we log in. So it's asking me for the username and password. So in this case, the username is going to be web user, and our password was password. So we now have access to the device. So we can see information about the device. We can see the front panel of the device, which ports are lit, etc. I can click on a port to get status. We can look at the MAC address table. We can look at the log. We can make all kinds of changes to the device. So things like stacking, pretty much anything you want to do. You can reload the device from here, etc. So good enough for now. So that's HTTP. Now, of course, it's unencrypted, and this is not probably how you should run in production. So we're going to close that. And then we'll create a crypto SSL certificate so that we can log in with SSH with SSL. Excuse me. So the command is crypto-SSL SSL. Oh. So crypto SSL certificate, and then generate. If you wanted to delete one, you do a zeroize here. So we do a generate. So it just takes a couple seconds to generate that key. So there it is. So it's generated my secret data. And so I now have a key on the device. So the other thing I have to do, if you remember back at the beginning, the server for HTTPS was disabled by default out of the box. So we're just going to do a web-management. And there's multiple things you can do. You can change the way it looks, change the front panel, enable, disable, allow password, etc. But in this case, what we want to do is a web management HTTPS. Okay, so if we do a show web again, like we did at the beginning, we now have the HTTP server and the HTTPS server enabled. Now you can go back in and delete that, but here you can see here's my session that I had open, right? So here's my web user session that I had on HTTP before. So now we're going to do the same thing, but we are going to open a new session with HTTPS. So sorry, one second. So if I do an HTTPS, 192.168.55. Okay, so we are now connected with HTTPS, so it's showing me my certificate's not valid. Well, that's true. We know that because we generated it, right? It's not a certificate that I imported, and we're going to log in with the same thing. So It is called web user, and the password again was password. So looks exactly the same, works the same way. It's just that it is now encrypted, and I'm logged in with SSL rather than plain HTTPS. So going back to the console here, if I run a show web again, I now have an HTTPS session open with the same username and same source IP, etc. So pretty straightforward. Obviously, if you wanted to delete that certificate, you would just go in and do the crypto SSL certificate 0 to blow those away. And if you wanted to go in and disable the HTTP server now that we have a HTTPS running, that would be the best practice. Okay, so that'll do for now. Thanks very much for joining.